Donald Trump, who once shared a publicly cordial and even complimentary relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, has now taken an aggressive and uncompromising stance against the music mogul. For years, the two moved in overlapping circles, high-profile parties, business events, and media appearances where Trump openly referred to Diddy as a good guy and suggested he would stand up for him if trouble ever arose. That history has now been completely erased. Insider sources claim Trump is not just walking away from Diddy, but actively urging the court to impose the maximum sentence allowed by law in his current criminal case, a punishment that could mean spending decades, possibly the rest of his life, in prison. This isn't quiet disapproval. It's a loud, deliberate signal that any past loyalty is dead. Trump has publicly shut down speculation of a presidential pardon, making it clear there will be no political rescue and no soft landing for Diddy. The decision has sent shockwaves through both political and entertainment circles as it transforms what was once a friendly association into a calculated and public act of separation. For Trump, this appears to be more than just a legal matter. It's a pointed statement delivered at a time when Diddy's legal and public image are already in free fall, ensuring that his downfall is as visible and damaging as possible. The collapse of Donald Trump and Sean Diddy Combs' once friendly relationship appears to stem from a deep sense of personal betrayal on Trump's part. According to insider accounts, the breaking point came during the last presidential election when Trump expected, at the very least, neutrality from Diddy, if not outright support. Instead, Diddy allegedly refused to back him and went further by making disparaging remarks about Trump behind the scenes. For someone like Trump, who prides himself on loyalty and personal alliances, this was more than a political disagreement. It was an insult that cut directly into their shared history. Trump has since been vocal about the slight referencing how they got along great in the past, but noting that Diddy became very hostile once he entered politics. The bitterness is amplified by Diddy's public statements over the years, including a 2017 interview where he bluntly said, "We don't really give a fuck, son," about Trump, and a 2020 appearance in which he declared that the #1 priority was getting Trump out of office. These moments, combined with the alleged behind-the-scenes criticism, appear to have completely erased any lingering goodwill. In Trump's eyes, this wasn't just political opposition, it was a personal snub from someone he once considered an ally. Now, with Diddy facing serious criminal charges, Trump seems determined to ensure that no trace of friendship or past favors influences the outcome, making his push for the harshest possible sentence as much about settling personal scores as it is about the legal case itself. One of the clearest signs that the Trump-Diddy relationship is beyond repair is Trump's outright rejection of the idea of a presidential pardon. For months, whispers in political and entertainment circles suggested that Diddy's legal team was banking on Trump's intervention to secure his release. This belief wasn't unfounded. Trump had in past interviews hinted at being open to helping Diddy if circumstances called for it, and their prior camaraderie seemed to make such a move possible. That speculation came to a sudden and decisive end when Trump publicly dismissed the notion in no uncertain terms. In interviews, he made it clear that any chance of leniency was off the table, emphasizing that their friendship no longer carried any weight. By shutting the door so firmly, Trump not only killed any hope of a pardon, but also sent a broader message he would not risk political capital or public perception to save Diddy. The refusal also undercuts one of Diddy's key legal strategies. Reports indicate his team had been working tirelessly behind the scenes through private meetings, high-profile connections, and possibly even political contributions to lay the groundwork for a pardon. With Trump's rejection now on record, that path is effectively dead. Instead of a quiet backroom deal to secure his freedom, Diddy is now facing the reality that the man he may have once counted on as a lifeline has not only abandoned him, but is actively advocating for the harshest punishment possible. This public rebuke has left Diddy's camp scrambling for alternatives as the legal clock ticks toward a sentencing that could define the rest of his life. Sean Diddy Combs is not facing minor legal troubles. His convictions are for serious federal crimes that carry the potential for decades in prison. He was found guilty on 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, a century-old federal law that makes it illegal to transport anyone across state lines for unlawful sexual activity. each conviction carries a maximum penalty of 10 years behind bars, meaning Diddy could be staring down a combined sentence of up to 20 years. The charges are rooted in disturbing allegations that have been the subject of lawsuits, media investigations, and public speculation for nearly 2 years. The Mann Act convictions alone would be enough to severely damage any public figure's career, but in Diddy's case, they're compounded by the fact that he's been in pre-sentencing custody for almost a year. While many first-time offenders might expect a lighter sentence, especially if no prior criminal history exists, the federal nature of the charges and their moral implications make this a high-stakes situation. For Diddy, these convictions have gone far beyond a legal battle. They've become the defining crisis of his public life. They threaten not only his freedom, but also his business empire, public reputation, and legacy. And with Trump now allegedly pressuring the court to impose the maximum punishment, the possibility of probation or early release, once considered realistic by some legal analysts, has faded almost entirely. What was already a damaging verdict is now on track to become a potentially life-altering sentence, one that could end his career and leave him behind bars for the foreseeable future. Before Donald Trump allegedly stepped into the picture, many legal experts believe Sean Diddy Combs would likely avoid spending much more time behind bars. As a first-time offender who had already served nearly a year in custody, the consensus was that the court might opt for a lenient outcome probation time served, or at worst, a few additional years. His high-profile status, lack of prior convictions, and legal arguments about the consensual nature of the incidents were seen as potential mitigating factors. That outlook has changed dramatically. Trump's reported push for the maximum sentence has, according to insiders, shifted the tone of the case. The presiding judge, Aaron, is now said to be taking a noticeably stricter approach with less willingness to entertain leniency. What was once expected to be a manageable sentencing outcome has morphed into a looming legal disaster for Diddy, where the full weight of federal sentencing guidelines could be applied. The difference is stark. Without outside influence, Diddy's legal team might have successfully argued that continued incarceration served no real public benefit, but with Trump allegedly making it clear both publicly and privately that he wants Diddy to face the harshest possible punishment, the odds of a lighter sentence are shrinking fast. What was once a hopeful scenario of walking out as a free man in the near future has now turned into a very real possibility of spending decades and potentially the rest of his life in prison. This dramatic shift underscores how quickly legal fortunes can change when political motivations collide with courtroom decisions. Judge Aaron, who is presiding over Sean Diddy Combs' case, has made it abundantly clear in recent weeks that leniency is not on the table. His rulings have grown increasingly strict, and many observers believe Donald Trump's alleged push for maximum punishment is influencing the tone of the proceedings. The most telling sign came when Diddy's legal team filed their fifth bail request, this time offering an eye-popping $50 million bond secured by his Miami mansion. Despite the unprecedented sum, Judge Aaron denied the motion, outright ordering Diddy to remain in custody until sentencing. In his written decision, the judge cited the legal requirement to find clear and convincing evidence that a defendant will not flee or pose a danger to the community if released. He concluded that Diddy met neither standard, labeling him both a flight risk and a potential threat. This was a devastating blow for the defense, especially since bail had once been seen as a realistic possibility. The denial also signaled a broader shift in the case's momentum. A year ago, Diddy's attorneys seemed confident they could secure temporary release, leveraging his celebrity status, financial resources, and prior clean record. Now, with the judge holding a firm line and reportedly feeling political pressure, those same factors appear irrelevant. Judge Aaron's unwavering stance has become one of the most formidable obstacles in Diddy's fight for freedom, making it increasingly likely that he will remain behind bars straight through to what could be a career-ending sentencing. As the reality of a potentially devastating sentence sets in, Sean Diddy Combs' legal team has been throwing every possible strategy at the court in a last-ditch attempt to reverse his fortunes, and so far, none have succeeded. Most recently, his attorneys filed a motion asking the court to either overturn the guilty verdicts or grant him a completely new trial. Their argument centers on the claim that the circumstances of the case do not align with the intended scope of the Mann Act. They point out that all parties involved were consenting adults, there was no commercial motive, and the men traveled and engaged in the activity voluntarily. The defense also emphasizes that to their knowledge, Diddy is the only person ever convicted under the statute for conduct of this nature. They argue that this precedent-setting conviction is unfair and that the verdict itself confirms the alleged victims were not vulnerable, exploited, or trafficked. Despite these assertions, insiders say the odds of success are slim, especially now with Donald Trump publicly urging the court to be tough and Judge Aaron already demonstrating little patience for defense arguments. This motion follows a string of other failed attempts to alter the case's trajectory, including multiple denied bail applications and procedural challenges. Each rejection has chipped away at Diddy's legal momentum, leaving his defense team with fewer options and less leverage. What was once a calculated legal battle has now become a scramble for any possible lifeline, but with the court unmoved and political pressure mounting, the likelihood of a major legal turnaround appears to be fading fast. Behind the scenes, one of Sean Diddy Combs' most ambitious escape plans reportedly revolved around securing a presidential pardon, a strategy his team allegedly pursued long before sentencing was even on the horizon. According to insider accounts, Diddy's camp worked tirelessly to build political goodwill, arranging private meetings, tapping high-profile connections, and allegedly funneling substantial money into strategic channels. The goal was simple: put him in a position where Donald Trump could justify a pardon without igniting massive public backlash. But whispers in political circles claim this pardon push wasn't just about charm and networking. It may have involved cooperation with federal authorities. Sources allege that Diddy provided sensitive information on a roster of powerful figures from media icons like Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King to major political players. The implication was that his cooperation could dismantle parts of his legal troubles while setting the stage for a high-profile presidential reprieve. The plan, however, appears to have unraveled spectacularly. Any goodwill Trump might have once felt toward Diddy has evaporated, and instead of quietly preparing a pardon, the former president is now said to be advocating for the harshest punishment possible. This reversal didn't just end Diddy's best shot at freedom, it made the very existence of those alleged backroom deals politically toxic. What was once a calculated bid for survival now looks like a gamble that backfired, leaving Diddy in a worse position than before and exposing him to even greater scrutiny in both the courtroom and the court of public opinion. In what may be the most explosive twist in the entire saga, insiders allege that Sean Diddy Combs attempted to leverage damaging information about Donald Trump in a bid to secure his freedom, information purportedly tied to Jeffrey Epstein's infamous and long-missing list. According to these reports, Diddy had obtained scandalous material implicating several high-profile individuals, with Trump's name allegedly among them. The rumors gained traction earlier this year when Elon Musk briefly tweeted that Trump appeared in Epstein's files, claiming that this was the real reason the documents hadn't been made public. Though the tweet was quickly deleted, it ignited widespread speculation and fueled talk that Diddy might be holding similar evidence. The suggestion is that Diddy may have been prepared to use this information as blackmail to push Trump towards granting him a presidential pardon. But if that was his plan, it seems to have backfired catastrophically. Trump has publicly denied any wrongdoing or association with Epstein in recent decades, dismissing the allegations as old news and pointing out that even Epstein's own lawyer confirmed he had nothing to do with it. Whether the so-called dirt was real or exaggerated, the optics of attempting to pressure a former president through such means have only worsened Diddy's situation. Instead of extracting concessions, the move appears to have hardened Trump's resolve against him, turning a potential ally into an active opponent. Now, with the alleged blackmail attempt lingering in the background, Diddy faces not only a collapsing legal defense, but also the perception that he overplayed his hand in a very dangerous political game, one that could seal his fate in the harshest possible way. Sean Diddy Combs' decades-long career, once defined by platinum records, business empires, and pop culture dominance, is now teetering on the edge of collapse. With his legal avenues narrowing, the likelihood of a presidential pardon gone, and Judge Aaron reportedly aligned with Donald Trump's push for the maximum sentence, the reality is grim. Diddy could spend the rest of his life in prison. What began as a high-stakes legal fight has snowballed into an all-out personal and professional disaster, with the fallout visible in every corner of his brand. Business partnerships have soured, public appearances have evaporated, and his reputation, once an asset that could open doors in politics, entertainment, and commerce, has become a liability. The music mogul, who once navigated scandals with a mix of charisma and influence, now appears cornered, his every move scrutinized by both the media and the courts. The collapse isn't just legal, it's financial, cultural, and reputational, eroding the foundation he spent decades building. For his supporters, the rapid decline feels shocking. For critics, it seems like a long, foretold reckoning. Either way, the trajectory is clear. Unless a dramatic and unforeseen legal shift occurs, Diddy's story may not end with a comeback tour or business revival, but with a prison jumpsuit and a legacy forever defined by scandal. What was once a sprawling empire of music, fashion, and influence is now shrinking to the walls of a cell, an unmistakable fall from grace that could be remembered as one of the most spectacular downfalls in modern celebrity history.